I do have a couple questions that I wanted to ask you. Well, BAFTA wanted me to ask you. And the first question is how do you like your tea?
Black.
Yes, I like mine black with a little bit of honey.
Um, Black.
The follow-up question.
I have to say that this is probably sacrilege to say in BAFTA. I don't drink a lot of tea, but when I do drink tea, it's black. It will be black. Where are you?
Exactly.
Where on the planet are you, Lauren?
Well, I'm currently in Atlanta, so on the east coast of the U.S. How about yourself? Where are you at?
I'm on the East Coast. I'm right outside of New York City. I've just
Oh,
I've just finished working here. And if you are in Atlanta, I'm assuming perhaps that you're working also. Is that true, or do you live in Atlanta?
the great question. Well, yes, I am working right now. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to reveal that. I don't know what
No,
you're
it's
about to talk
fine. I
about.
will not ask you anything more. It's fine. You can keep it to yourself.
Because I actually just moved down here from New York City. So I live in Brooklyn, is where I primarily reside.
Got it. Okay, I understand. Yep, I understand. Got you. Are you do you miss New York, or is it too soon, or is it exciting to be in Atlanta?
Well, actually, I don't really think anybody is supposed to miss New York, in February and March.
Oh, good
Being the
point.
first day of March.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, yeah. Right. I get
Right.
it.
Yeah, but I wanted to say, I'm so thrilled to actually have the chance to meet you and congratulations on your success. I mean, congratulations on The Blood Five. I saw that when it actually, when lockdown first started, it was just the perfect movie to watch. And just to see you, using that MAGA hat, that was insane. And I'm just wondering, like, what was that like for you to wear that hat?
It was a process of my coming to terms with, before we started filming, it was a process of my coming to terms with why my character would wear that hat, why he would, why he cast that vote in 2016, and how he would evolve not only to have cast that vote, but to actually be wearing that hat. So it was a process of my educating myself as I was in the beginning process of creating that particular character.
I got my start actually on Broadway. And I really am so new at this craft. And I just want to learn so much as I can. And obviously, and as you see, I'm deaf, I'm Black, I'm a woman. And, it's definitely a challenge working in this industry. But when I see people like you that you're a source of inspiration for me.
Thank you.
And when I see you involved, a part of that movie, as playing Paul, the vet, and it just made me think about my role that I had on Broadway when I first was, got the character of Sarah, Sarah Norman, who actually was a struggle for me because we have nothing in common. I had nothing in common with that character, so it was so hard for me to find that relationship. I mean, and you had that same experience, just to how did you get past that?
That's a great observation and a great question. And the news is part of the challenge of acting is that we all always have to find areas of commonality, areas of commonality with whatever characters we are playing, even when on the surface it may seem that you have nothing in common. The job is to find where are the areas that I do have in common with this person? Or are there any areas where I could foresee myself having something in common with this person, and then build from there? That's probably the most succinct answer I can give you. If you want me to expound or to talk about that further, I can. But
Yeah,
that
feel
is,
free to expound.
well,
I got my tea here ready to go. So
okay. I can give you two examples from my own experience. Many years ago, I played Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, a man who I do not know Clarence Thomas, but in preparing to play that part, I read a couple of books. One book that I read was the book that was based on the film that I was going to do, in which I was playing Clarence Thomas. The film is called Strange Justice. So although I do not know him, on the surface, I can fairly confidently say that our politics are not the same. Some of the things that he believes, I fervently do not believe. Does that make sense?
completely.
All right. Okay. So then I read this book, Strange Justice, that the film was going to be based on. Then I read, it was either a biography or an autobiography of Clarence Thomas himself. It may have been a biography. And in that book, it talked about his childhood and how, as a child, at a certain point, he had left his parents' home and had been raised, I believe, by his grandfather. And then he had also, at a certain point, been sent to study with nuns. He had moved away from his family and had ended up being educated for a short time by these nuns. I related to that. Oh, one other thing. I went down to a place called Pinpoint, Georgia, which is where Clarence Thomas is from. It's about 40 minutes outside of Savannah. And I visited Pinpoint. And Pinpoint is not even a town. It is so small. I'm assuming that's why it's called Pinpoint. It's so small. When I was looking for it, I drove past it 3 or 4 times. And then I happened to see a sign that said something like, "This is Pinpoint, Georgia, the home of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas." And there was an arrow pointing down a street. So I turned down the street and I found this very tiny community, Pinpoint. And I also found a gentleman who had been raised with Clarence Thomas, who very, very graciously agreed to speak with me, to spend some time with me, talk about his childhood, talk about some of his recollections of growing up with Clarence Thomas as a child. And one of the things that he said to me was, when we were kids, when Clarence and I, when we were kids, there were a group of us, and we would always be playing sports, baseball or whatever. And Clarence would always have his face in a book. So what I related to receiving that information about Clarence Thomas, a man who I, on the surface, have nothing in common with, and whose politics, his politics and my politics, are probably divergent. But that did not help me. What I needed to help me understand this man and play this man, where are the areas of commonality between us? The fact that he always had his face in a book while his friends were playing baseball, I related to, not because when I was young, I always had my face in a book, but because when I was young, I was an outsider. I was different than the people who I was around in many, many instances. So I related to that element of being an outsider. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely, completely.
Then the aspect from his childhood where he was sent from his family, sent away from his family, and ended up being raised by these, educated by these nuns. I related to that, not because I had a parallel experience, but I had a similar experience in as much as I was not raised at a certain point. My mother was a nurse. My family is Jamaican. My mom was studying to be a nurse. And at a certain point during my mother's studies, she could not have me on campus with her as a young child. So she sent me to live with another family. So I related to that aspect of our shared experience, Clarence Thomas and myself, and that those were the keys for me in to a certain psychology of that man and my ability to make a connection between those areas that I decided we had shared experience or similar enough experience that I could relate. With regard to the Five Bloods, as I started to create Paul, there were certain things that the script, there was certain information that the script gave me about Paul. Clearly, MAGA hat wearing individual. But the script gave me the information that Paul had volunteered for service in Vietnam. He was not drafted, he volunteered 3 times. The information that gave me was Paul very much loves his country to the point where he is willing to volunteer to go and fight in this war. What I know about vets, Vietnam veterans, from speaking to them, and I have 2 cousins who are Vietnam vets that I spoke with, and I spoke with various other vets in preparing the work. And Vietnam vets were reviled when they came home to America. They were accused of being baby killers. They were spat on. And so their contribution to the war was rejected out of hand when they came back to America. I related, even though I was not in Vietnam, I was only 16 years old in 1968, but I related psychologically to the notion of being rejected based on experience that I have had. And I know what that feels like to be rejected. And then I extrapolated, Lauren, in terms of the depth of the rejection. I extrapolated, if I've volunteered 3 times to go and fight in the war, and the last time when I come home, I am reviled for what I feel is a contribution to the country, then I started to extrapolate, what must that feel like? And I know what it feels like to be rejected in the face of having made some gesture or series of gestures and to be rejected. I know what that feels like. That was an area of commonality between myself and Paul. The script gave me the information that my wife had died in childbirth. Thank God that's not happened to me. However, what I related to was the sense of loss that must have, how that must have impacted. I have lost things in my life that I loved. Not only, and it has more to do with situations that I have loved and wanted to continue to be a part of, and circumstances were such that I could not be. So that was a loss. So I related to that. So now I have two huge chunks of information, Lauren, about Paul. The loss that I have suffered, the depth of the loss that I have suffered, and this area where I was rejected so deeply by my country. So I have rejection and loss that I can relate to. The third piece of information that I was given by the script, well, it's the same. It's my wife died in childbirth. And as a result of that, it has strained my relationship with my son. And there's a suggestion in the script that somehow I blame my son for my wife's death. What the script gave me was that I have this estranged relationship with my son, which I assessed, Lauren, as yet another loss. So I have the area where I've experienced deep-seated loss, and I have these experiences where I was rejected by my country. So loss and rejection, I relate to that personally. These are connections between myself and Paul. And then I started to connect that with my own creative process. And what I ended up, things that I created for myself, things that I made up for myself, extrapolating from the loss and the tragedy in Paul's life. And where I arrived in that process was understanding that Paul is a man who needs what I call in his life a win, because he's had all these losses. And here comes this person in 2015 who says, if you vote for me, if you're feeling outside of society, as Paul does, there's a disconnection from society. There's a disconnection from self. I extrapolated that. I created that. Then we have that major area of that the script, information that the script gives me in terms of my relationship with Norm. For those who maybe have not seen the film, I'm not going to give it away, but you know what I'm talking about. Yes, the character played by Chadwick Boseman. Guilt, loss, and rejection. Guilt, loss, and rejection. I have experienced all three of those things myself. So I extrapolate now and I start creating, and I come up with these huge areas of guilt, loss, and rejection that I'm trying to come to terms with, that Paul is trying to come to terms with. And here comes this man, this individual in 2015 who says, essentially, vote for me and I will make things better in your lives. All of those who are feeling rejected, who are outside of society, who are feeling not outside of society, who are feeling disconnected from society, as Paul does, completely disconnected from the world around him and disconnected from himself. And here comes this individual who says, I can make it better. I can make things better for you. That's why
that magic pill, basically.
Exactly. That magic pill. I am the magic pill. Drink my Kool-Aid. Drink what I am offering. ingest what I'm offering because I have that which will make you better. That's why I cast the vote in 2016. That's why I'm wearing that hat, because I need a win.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really is helpful. The only thing that I've learned as an actor is that we don't really act. We just actually are searching for the truth. And what you were just speaking about and how you actually, delved into Justice Clarence's, trying to find his truth and connect it with yours. That's what comes out when that's those connections of truth. I mean, it's parallels, just like you were saying, to Blood 5. Like you're looking for those little essence of truth. You're looking for where Paul was coming from. And that's basically just coming from a place of love, and really trying, when I actually played Sarah, what helped me was to understand that whatever pushes Sarah, whatever her intention is, it always comes from a place of love. And I think that was my truth. That was what really saved me, what helped me connect and understand and fall in love with my character. And I think that that's really important, that all of us find that, that compassion for the characters that we actually play, even though they may be good or bad, even if you are using a MAGA hat, finding that.
You're so right. Everything you're saying is so right. And these processes that you've used for yourself in playing that character feel completely right on. Finding the truth, exercising compassion, and I would even say empathy with regard to the character that you're playing. And what you're talking about are forging those areas of connection between yourself and the character so that you can express from your place of truth and therefore that character's place of truth. That makes complete sense.
There you go. Well, you are a hero. So thank you so much. I really appreciate having tea with you.
God bless you.
So hopefully our paths cross soon.
Amen. Amen. And all the very, very best to you. All the very best to you, Lauren. God bless you. Thank you very, very much. Take good care.
Thank you.
And good luck with your mystery project in Atlanta. God bless. Bye now. Bye-bye.